Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to go extensively over the differentiator between physical, outer body, astral plane, Shen projection, soul projection, what that actually means, how to isolate it, how to generate it, how to elevate your energetic body, transmute it to pop out, and have you be pure consciousness. These are all part of the fundamentals that we're going to go over today in more detail. And don't forget to stay to the end where we'll go over a quick exercise to activate your sacred infinite flower in your upper Dantian, giving you a tangible, plausible feeling of dense energy. Enjoy the video. To become learned, gain daily. To obtain Tao, reduce daily. Reduce, and again, all action is reduced to non-action. No one is left. Nothing is done, yet nothing is left undone. One who gives freely without attachment gets a full life in return. One who gives with the secret hope of getting is merely engaged in business. Truly, they never give nor receive any of the treasures from below the world, from below heaven. Welcome to the consciousness of the way. My divine, delectable co-host, High Priestess Jade.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And I am your humble servant and Sifu Taoist Master San Quinn, and we have another profound day in this cycle we call life, in the simulation that we call humanness. And here lies the misdirection.
The simulation.
Well, the simulation, misdirection, I mean, even this language we call physics, how limited, just as we always speak on. If you come from biology, if you come from neurology, if you come from physiology, you are limited in your nature. That is not representative of all things. Consciousness has nothing to do with what you perceive as your reality. It goes beyond it all. And we are getting deeper and deeper into out-of-body experience, astral plane, whatever you want to call it. It's a sensory perception. And how do you validate the sensory perception? It's confirmation of your experience. How do you confirm your experience? It's validated by you. How is it validated by you? It's your truth and the only truth that you need to be concerned with. That is all things. And so we percolate, we contemplate, we circumvent through thought. You know, the deeper mastery, as I said before, it takes about 54 minutes to acquire this, is the simplicity of at face value. Except you know nothing, you know everything. That simplicity is beyond all things. Yet everyone seeks to find more. Everyone finds more to seek more. And the cycle continues right down to what is a dimension. What does that even mean? What does that matter? It only matters if it matters to you. The old expression, mind over matter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind because you don't matter. And that, in of itself, realizing that never make it about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And profound things take place. Everyone's own journey, perception of the reality is theirs, and for them to discern, to decide, to affirm what is real and what isn't. But you find a mastery, you find a path, you find a cultivation, and that's where you stay in the game.
Mm-hmm. Accept and allow.
Accept and allow. That game, that realization is really, really powerful. It's interesting. We talk about some of these people that are more pioneers within OBE in the last 50 years. And are they really pioneers? I mean, Taoist practices have been around tens of thousands. But it always goes back to the common consensus. Or is it not a common consensus? This simulation. I just recently did a podcast on a channel for near-death experiences. And the funny part was more the direction of what they wanted out of the material. And ultimately, in the end, they wanted me to reference a parallel, the Emerald Tablets, Thoth, Anunnaki, Halls of Amente. These are, it's like what people need to understand. This is sort of like percolating. It's very popular. You see it. You're in the psychosis of the internet, in social media, YouTube. This will percolate. That means that you don't even realize you're on a subconscious dialogue repeating the same material. And so the humanness transmuted into the sexiness that is the alluring appeal of the mystery of the Emerald Tablets will put you into that state, right? You start believing that you are simulating and creating these thoughts, that this is the transmutation of all things. And that really will depend on you. And when you step out of this realm, when you step out of this dimension, we use it to acquire a gear shift. Two of the fundamental things that are so powerful that you need to acquire to be out of body or to transmute into a higher dimension is to be able to discern that. And the validation, the confirmation is how you do that. So feeling is critical. The energetic body is critical. Once you transition, and I've transitioned hundreds of people, that means from deathbed to new reality, crossing over to the other side. It's a beautiful thing. But fear will guide you. Fear will be the catalyst. If you are uncertain or not familiar with what is coming. And so what better way to understand how powerful you are right now in this natural-born life than to master these skills? The astral plane has become a sort of a dirty word. It gets a little old. It's another shift of consciousness, and you validate it with the tangibility. So you're acquiring these skills with out-of-body where, the infantile perception is you need to see your body lying there. That you need to experience death to feel alive. You need to experience death to be ascended to a higher level of consciousness. I would say if that is your subscription, your prescription that you have generated from your perception, then that will be your reality. That's it, beginning and end. That's all that's all it takes. And it was quite refreshing. I came across a guy who has this perception and has validated it pretty much the same way I have. And it's really refreshing because that's really what you do. You go through creating situations in your human being experience that validates all the signals and signs that you want to create to be realized. And so, the OBE experience, which is really not even out of body. What would you call this? It's really inside yourself. Because it's not outside of you. It's in you. It's deep inside you. It's looking inside. Just from the scriptures, it's very clear. A mind merged within itself, you beholds the Tao. Doesn't get any clearer than that. And so, you will have the construct of the familiarity, but what I've discovered, and it only gets validated by your discovery, your assessment, your perception, your validation, your truth, it's from your discovery, right? So you have these different tools. We've created quite a few. You start with the Way 126. There is the levels of consciousness that you continue to acquire by going through all the material. What people tend to discern is the level of it, right? There's always one side or the other. You're going to be either attracted to it or you're going to be repelled from it because there's a pace that you're looking for. And within, just the app itself, it creates a visual audio experience, creating a kinesthetic charge. You will redefine what you call pacing and leading, and ultimately, dissolving of all boundaries and limitations, because you need to understand Intuition 101. When something irritates you, you should definitely merge towards it, not from it. This is a direct signal from your intuition, i.e. your guides or whatnot, that this is right where you need to be. And so when it comes to the Way 126, we have people that are either on two sides of the coin. One that absolutely embrace it. They're ready to completely surrender and evolve to their highest consciousness, and it continually ascends. The energetics get stronger and stronger. Or they are repelled by it because their perception is, this is too slow, I can't do this. When it's, I'll remind you, when you think it's too slow, it's not slow enough. And so that repelling is a critical identifier. Even if you have no clear senses whatsoever, or not aware of your intuition or anything of that kind, that is an indicator which goes, hello, I'm right where I need to be. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, no. I kind of think of it like they have this exercise in school where they have each person like pick an object or draw it, or like everyone has to draw the same thing. So like everyone draw a cat or something. And it's so interesting because you'll get, 100 different versions of a cat. It's still a cat, but it's all that person's perspective. You know what I mean? And that's very similar to how people kind of experience their consciousness. It's your perspective. It's, we can be looking at the same thing and see two totally different sides of it, different perspectives of it, different variations of it. And I think people get very limited when it has to be this way, or it has to be, this method, this methodology, this thought process, this concept. It is your perspective.
1,000%. And so when you're doing OBEs, you've got variants of that, just like anything. It's another facet of the diamond. So, you can start with something like sleep paralysis, identify what that is, a transition from literally one level of consciousness to the next. Once you discern the fear that you don't have any voice, or you are not able to be animated from your physical body because you're already out of it, true OBE, sleep paralysis transfer, is realizing that this is the degrees that we teach people on. First person, third person, no person. When you realize you're no person. So there's this startling effect that takes place when you do, when you're immersed in that transition from one, level of consciousness to the next, is I have no voice, I have no movement, yet you perceive yourself as your physical body, where you are not. You are out of your physical body, and it is now a no person scenario. That is profound, and that's where you need to be. That is where you are right there in it, And that means you have access to all things. And so the discovery part is really exciting. Most people start their discovery, they get out of their body, they freak out,
Yeah.
they let their emotional content control them. It draws them back in when you understand the polarization between magnetic and electric, draws them back into their physical body, and then we start all over again. So it's like little baby steps. And like that's why the emotional content is so key. You need to be void of the emotional content. The emotional content is the biggest distraction as a human being when it comes to your experience. It's a huge distraction. People don't realize how much they are being controlled by what they perceive as their reality. All of this is not even real. This is just a simulation from a 3D reality. You're here to perceive things. You're experiencing things as consciousness. And you are eternal, immortal, infinite. So, the physical death is like turning a page in a book.
And it's funny because we love when people get it, but they come to us with that like kind of freak out, and they're like, "Oh my God, this happened, and we're like, congratulations," and they're like, "Wait, what?" And it's like, no, this is people. This is what people search for. This is what people spend a lifetime trying to achieve, and you're achieving it. But it's always the first time it's always this kind of scary thing, and we're like, yeah, right on.
A lot of people are like, holy crap, it was like, I think people attribute it to this, they call it, this is just a term that I've heard that I've never used in over 30 years, dark night of the soul. So this would be like an overshadowing of, a complete overhaul of a tsunami of emotions that are being literally elevated, levitated from your physical body, which is where they're stored. And you would seem like you're having a nervous breakdown, mentally, emotionally, physically. And then, of course, it would transmute into the emotional breakdown, amplitudes of depression, anxiety, fear, all raising to the top. And they're none of the above. And so, let's search deeper into this OBE stuff. So we talked about it yesterday, we've talked about it before, but understanding that transfer, that sleep paralysis transfer, is when you realize you're nobody. You went from first person, third person, nobody, and you're like, holy crap, boom. The glimpse is gone. So let's obtain it again. Let's get there. Let's go deeper, and this is what, Taoists for tens of thousands of years have called Shen projection. Right? So you're projecting your immortal self, your eternal self, your soul, as you would say, your spirit, and it's being simulated with this energetic body. So there is the sensory perception is elevated. You need to start with the seed. The seed is the reverberation, the oscillation that comes with taking your physical body, putting it on pause, because it just unravels. It like kind of rolls open, just rolls out, unrolls like you've got a sleeping blanket all rolled up, and then you roll it out. Your physical body rolls out as part of this experience. And then there's a seed of oscillation, vibration that is taking place through specific practices we teach people. And it literally gets you to a point where this physical body is so tangible. It goes beyond, the energetic body is so tangible, it goes beyond the physical body. And it is so, it oscillates and vibrates so much. It's like, a tsunami is taking place inside your physical body, and then it pops out. And, you can have different degrees of sensory perception where it's as dramatic as that, or you are there. You're not waiting. You're not hanging out like, oh, my goodness, they told me it's in stages. I do not subscribe to stages, to limitations. You can be aware and be shown this material that we teach you, and you can be there in seconds. You can be there. Most people are like, oh, it's going to take time. Okay, that's your parameters, that's your boundary, that's what you're going to create, which is a progression of time to generate your experience.
Now, would you say that most people experiencing that even have a concept of time at that point? Or is it not until you...
Oh, no. I mean, time and space is void.
Right.
It's dissolved. I mean, that's what we talk about when we talk about the fourth dimension. Again, another sensory perception. It can be something, it can be nothing. It's just literally a parameter to define what you're experiencing right now. Time and space.
Right.
And quite frankly, it's null and void. You know, your greatest way to see whether you're enjoying your life on a week-to-week basis, start the week, and then you start a new week, and you go, where was the last week? Mm-hmm. And most people go, oh my goodness, time flew by. No, you were immersed in the experience, and profound experience it was, and you were enjoying and bathing in and valuing and appreciating every second of what you're experiencing. It's when you're counting every minute, you're like, what is that good expression? Good to be Friday,
mm-hmm.
You know.
Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday, right? Because your life is such a misery that you're literally counting the seconds to every minute, to every hour, to every day, to every week. And it is so long, drawn out, and miserable because you're unable to immerse yourself in this humanness, this experience. And so you've created your reality where it is slow and long in the teeth. Mm-hmm. It's a long, drawn-out, horrible, miserable experience that you have created with that parameter, using those words. This is all your sensory perception. And so we use the OBE as a grounding level, but what it does is it takes your physical body to another level. You hit the infinite Wuji body, which is an energy body activator, and now you're off to the races. Couple that with the Way 126, and you are creating a state because all your energy centers are being regulated. You need a foundation. People need a system, and you can stumble across these things, but, and I'll say but, the most important thing is having a foundational system that you acquires a greater skill. You will not even realize the development, the skill that you have until you do.
That's what I was going to ask too. Do a lot of people have an OBE and don't even realize it until they realize it, or they're, going through this process of it and it doesn't even click. It just happened. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. You have a great example. You do the 126, right, which is our wrap, visual audible experience, creating a kinesthetic charge. You then do the Wuji Jing body portal. And then I want you to take a minute, because we measure your response on a day-by-day basis, and you can with your neurology. So you activate this Wuji body, and then you're able to, evoke the sacred infinite flower at will. And so there is a tangible effect that takes place when you're gathering that chi, which is the energetic body, which is representative of the simulator. And so you literally will be able to evoke this sacred infinite flower, which just the whole Wuji body activation is like it polarizes a kundalini. And so now you have this pulpability. And that's kind of like part of the mastery of OBE is first accessing the energetic body to a level where you're able to discern between, sensory perception, or i.e. dimensions. You're going from 3D to 4D to 5D to any dimension you choose to. They're infinite.
Yeah.
This whole, there's only 10, 9, whatever. That is for you to discern, but I will tell you from my own personal experience, I've discovered over 30, and I truly believe from all the things that I'm shown that it is infinite. So let's just go, you activate the energetics, you oscillate, you vibrate, you pop out. You're now in this plane, the out-of-body experience, i.e. Shen projection, soul projection, astral projection. And now the skill is to confirm that. So now you're confirming. Now you can use it through psychic ability, mediumship, channeling. And this is instantaneous. As we talk about, we're operating on all dimensions instantly. Then you get to a point where you want to start validating these things. So you're able to go to places, and you want the palpability of something. So if I'm here in this 3D reality, I can go and pick this mic up and I can feel it, touch it, measure the weight of it. This also comes down to the OBE experience. Is think it, touch it, feel it, measure the weight of it. And so when you're out there, then you have access to all information, which we have access. We do this right now as I'm speaking. I'm projecting. I don't need to have my eyes closed, but this is a mastery. There's certain degrees of development, and it really depends on the individual. Mm-hmm. Depends on the individual where you're at. But there is a fundamental workup to that gets you where you need to go. And so you move through it, you hit that point, and you've oscillated, you've vibrated, you popped out. You're now in this dimensional shift that is tangible. And the key is not to let the emotional content control you. This is where near-death experiences don't give you an option. It's kind of like when you're driving down the highway and you don't have a seatbelt on and you hit the brakes and you're going 80 miles an hour and you go through the windscreen. It's kind of at that same degree with a near-death experience. It doesn't give you an option. You are already in another dimension. You've vibrated your Shen, your astral projection, due to the abrupt nature of your near-death experience. It's literally, popped it out, like popping an ice cube out of an ice tray from the freezer. This is the same concept using, the silicone mold. You ever done that, filled up the silicone mold, and then you pop the ice cube out? It's the same thing when it comes to the astral projection, the Shen projection, soul projection, OB, out-of-body experience. You literally, it's like, literally popping it out, and it will be realized. So there's a progression. You can go through near death, you can go through out of body, you can be given a training system like the one we have. The most important thing is to validate it. You want to be able to validate it. You need to remove the emotional content. That's the distraction. And then once you get out there, all bets are off as to what you perceive as your reality, because you are nothing more than a facet of a diamond that is consciousness. Just as Jade sees it one way, I see it another. So don't be misled or controlled or limited by a specific belief system. That's where the Jade Emperor literally says, when you are not of this body, what can harm you? When you do not believe you are of this body, what can harm you? When you accept you know nothing, you know everything. This is not conceptual. When it's realized, all things open up. Mm-hmm. All things are activated. All things are realized.
Yeah, and create that limitlessness, because you're only limited by your own perception, your own belief system, your own reality. And when you realize you're unlimited, that's where everything just flourishes, into this incredible, amazing consciousness.
Right. And the knowing that I have is quite simple. When training people in this system, is that you will acquire it in 54 minutes or less. That's part of the power of it. There is no one, as long as you perceive yourself as a human being, you have the neurology of a human being, you will acquire this. Now this, your senses are variable, whether you see, smell, hear, taste, feel, and that's where the equalizer comes in, right? Some are deficient, some are excess. This is how we acquire a deeper understanding of the individual in front of us and what is the path of least resistance to access their highest level of consciousness due to their sensory perception. But once you start leveling it out and you train in it, it becomes equalized, and they are all the same, and they remain the same. we're going to do a little exercise here in a minute, even though we've gone over. I feel like it's necessary to understand the differentiator between the physical matter, qi, shen, wuji, the Tao. And these are just perceptions of my reality as I am sharing them with you using these ancient techniques that are tens of thousands of years. But you can feel the charge from those, and they're reflectant on your experience.
Yeah, and these are all ancient Taoist techniques that have been around for thousands of years, have been trained, have been mastered, have been passed down. And that's this training system is all developed within that, thousands of years of lineage holders, sharing.
Well, it's cultivation.
Cultivation, absolutely.
It's percolating
depth.
this tangibility.
There's a depth to it.
And there's a tangibility that comes with it. And that's when you sink into it and you realize, oh my goodness, all I'm doing is imagine you're driving down the highway. Have you ever driven on the highway when it just starts raining for the first time in winter and the roads are slick with oil, and you want to make sure that you're not subject to this transition from hot to cold, and this rain is pouring down on the road, and it's watering up all these oil slicks and other things of that nature that are being generated. You follow the tracks of the person driving in front of you. And by doing that, you create a certainty that you're not going to lose control of your vehicle. So if you've ever driven before, you understand what I'm talking about. You fall into the groove that they've already created.
Right.
This is part of the mastery that we are speaking of. And when you do that, it becomes realized. The most important thing for Jade and I is to make sure that you acquire it. And it comes in all different forms. The power is within you. The power is you. And it is limited by you alone. That's it, beginning and end. And so I think we went over a lot.
Yeah, it's always good to just keep reminding, and different people pick up different little things, and you'll watch this back and go, ooh, I heard that and I didn't hear it.
Yeah, it was important that I reiterate the difference between the physical body,
right,
the energetic body, what you would perceive as the astral body. And then people start talking in degrees. Again, those degrees are variable by you.
right.
Understand that you will be able to identify what these are, and they will be very tangible for you. You will create that. Just as I'm talking now, and you feel that energy, it starts to surge. Why? Because it only takes my intention, and for me, it's just verbal, and it is materialized and rippled through your very essence. And so, with that said, I'll ask my divine delectable co-host with any closing words, thoughts, or emotions that you want to share with the audience leading into this little exercise we're going to do.
Yeah, I think it's important too that people move at the pace that they feel comfortable with, and also what works for you. I mean, we constantly remind you that everything can be instantaneous, and at the same time, there is still a couple levels of foundation that has to be laid so that your experience is consistent, successful, enjoyable, because you've already kind of laid these other pieces that just enhance it when they're all mixed together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. So, with that said, I want to go through a little exercise. All we're doing is validating the concentration of energy within your upper Dantian. And so I'm going to pull in the spirit and energy of the sacred infinite flower. Yeah, and you feel that. The second I speak on it, that pulpability, that density is present, right? And so all of a sudden, physical body gets hot. Density starts to acquire in the upper Dantian, i.e. your head, between your ears, front to back, from your eyes to the back of your skull. There is a level of pulpability that has been generated from what I'm speaking of. This is where we acquire the activation of the sacred infinite flower. through the Wuji body, you activate that. Through what I'm speaking of, you're activating it right now. We will use a respiratory exercise to elevate that consciousness, and with that, you'll get a response, right? So what I'm going to get you guys to do is you're going to pretty much breathe in and out, in through the nose, out through the mouth, 9 times, and then you're going to hold it, and that's going to condense that energy in your upper Dantian, right where the sacred infinite flower is. Now, at that point of holding, I'm going to pull in and call in the spirit and energy of the sacred infinite flower. That will be amplified even more. Just as I'm speaking of it, the presence is there, but when I call it in just through that form of incantation, it amplifies, it multiplies, it is dance and created. So, without any further ado, I'll have you just get comfortable, close your eyes or keep them open, close a sense, add a sense, and what we're going to do is go through the breath. And the breath will just be an in, out, in, out, in, out 9 times, and then we will hold it on the last exhale for 9 seconds, drawing in the sacred infinite flower at the end. Are we ready? Okay. And hold. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release, welcoming the spirit and energy of the sacred infinite flower. Now, oh yeah. Let that tumble like a washing machine. Let it thicken like pizza dough as we turn it and churn it and materialize it in a tangible form. And that thickness, that heaviness that you're experiencing is what that is. Nothing more, nothing less. Let it present itself in the form, its true form. Oh my goodness. Sit with that. Be with that. The bobblehead phenomenon. For all those people that hear me in the distance, or the people that are just present and are playing with their pizza dough, let it go deeper. Let it play. Let it thicken. Let it cultivate. And let it disperse, expand, oscillate. Oh yeah. Sit with that. And with that, I will thank my divine, delectable co-host, High Priestess Jade. I want to thank you for coming in and being a part of this experience, expanding your consciousness. And I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Quinn, and I'll see you on the next one, guys.